What happened to all those ESG policies that were defined and implemented? Which results did they bring? Welcome to the channel. My name is Lenah Sakai. I'm Green Business Post editor. And today, just like we saw just like you saw in the thumb, the one who goes woke really goes broke. So we are going to see the practical results of ESG and why, like we saw in the previous videos. We'll see why it's scaring investors and why BlackRock changed their investment thesis for 2024. So let's understand better. Remember that Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, he said he didn't want to say ESG anymore. Well, he was really saying the truth, and you see why. Well, this year, BlackRock stressed financial strength over ESG in company calls. They released the report, to 2024 report, and they did not mention ESG anymore. And I'm showing you that. But before I show you, it says that dropped reference on global warming and other issues that they were focused in previous years, but it mentioned nothing actually. And here I want to show you that their assets manager is of $10 trillion. And I'm showing you this because you're going to see next, after I show you the report, that half of these assets, $5 trillion, the owners of this half of the assets, they are demanding changes, and that's why BlackRock changed their focus. So let's see their report that is totally different from the previous years. Here you can see financial resilience in a new economic regime. So the focus is financial resilience. They want to analyze risks before they make any investments. And here I'm just, as a curiosity for you, I thought like, oh, let's see what happened, how many times they mention ESG. And I found out that none. So Larry Fink was really serious about not mentioning ESG anymore. In the 2024 report, he does not mention once about global warming. No, zero. About climate change? Oh, if I thought it was going to show something, could it change the page, but nothing. No, it did not appear. I think it changed the page because I wrote it wrong at the beginning. But it does not appear these words that were their focus before: ESG, global warming, climate change. And these terms does not appear in the report. So it's a huge difference. It's a total change of direction. Let's see other words, just to show you that the search is working. So financial, we have 35 words. Let's see, resilience, 19 words. So you can see here, building resilience, push for resilience, preference for resilience over economic efficiency, risk, 19 words, manage risk, could pose risk, robust risk management, and performance, 11 words. Financial performance, financial performance, financial performance, financial performance, financial performance, a lot of financial performance. And that is going to impact the investments from now on. So let's see the demand of the investors. Here you can see that the owners of the 5 trillion of dollars, the shareholders, they voted for more risk management for this year. So it's a lot of, it's a very relevant opinion. It's half of their assets, and that's why they have to listen. They always kind of try to listen. But those votes, those demands are changing totally because of some happenings, some very, very relevant crisis that happened in the world that changed totally the comprehension of ESG, because in theory things can be very beautiful and perfect, but it's the practical world that matters. We need to see the real impacts, not just the intentions. The intentions can always be good, but the impact has to give us the real results for the populations, for the future generations. Before I show you what happened in the world, let's see how ESG was implemented and then what happened. So as I keep repeating in the other videos, there is a very, that's why we're talking about this woke term that is very mentioned in the internet. So it's the activism, the imposition. So this kind of way of demanding is ESG way of demanding that happened, and there is no discussion to generate a consolidated knowledge. So what's that? There is no discussion from the theoretical professionals, students, academic world of theory, discussion with the executioners, the practice world of ESG. So the discussion of theory and practice is going to lead us to a consolidated knowledge. But this is not happening. It's a demand, like it's as if it's an emergency for tomorrow. And that's not how things work. That's not how processes are created and new way of working is created. And it takes time to create a model of work, to build a team, hire new people, and then discover if the model is working or with errors, and then to then define the model of work, and then you will, after some time, have the results. But that's not what's happening. This is the responsible work, and ESG, as it was demanded, was not responsible. So that's why investors got scared, because the results were not good. They were terrible. But before we see the results, if you're learning something new today, adding to your repertoire, subscribe, like, and don't forget to comment, share with us your opinion, your point of view. We like to create a diversity environment of knowledge, of ideas, and we have knowledge organized in a book, so we can share good practices and bad practices that happened in organizations and governments that led them to failure. So there are 5 failure cases, and there's one success case, bonus case, for you to understand what is a good case, a good practice that what kind of result it brings, and then you will see how the difference between the failure. And our next book is going to be about success cases. And I think this is what most people want, is to understand what kind of results, not just environmental results, not just social results, but we need the financial results for the organization. And because governance, the financial world, is what makes organizations survive. The amount raised with this book goes to Aware Alliance, our independent non-profit initiative. You can learn more in the description or in the QR code. So let's go to what happened in the world. Here I put ESG chaotic results. So what made investors scared? made them change their mind. There was an issue, very famous ESG issue. They used to believe that the defense industry was responsible for the wars. And then they decided not to invest on those companies anymore, to let them out of ESG investments. And they realized that they were wrong. They were wrong, because how are you going to defend yourself from threats? Because even if you want peace, there is always going to be a threat. How are you going to defend yourself from threats? From people that do not like you, from people that are crazy, from people that are extremists. So you need always to be with defensive equipments. So after the Ukraine invasion by Putin, the European countries, and Ukraine is a European country, they got threatened by Putin. They were against its violence, and he was stealing their land, their assets, and Europe got against it. And they saw that they were not prepared for a war, for an attack next to them by a very big country like Russia. And they felt like they were not strong enough, like, for the threats that Putin was making. So they saw the violence that happening in Ukraine, that is happening, and they realized that they need defense equipment, because they're not immune of attacks, of not very reliable governments like Putin. And they changed their mind about the defense sector. So here I wrote about it, and I'm going to put in the description if you want to read the article I wrote about it. There is an example of bank that changed their mind and started investing again in the defense sector. So I brought an example of bank that changed their mind. It's a Swedish bank called Skandinaviska Eskuda. Part of its funds were once again authorized to buy shares in weapon manufacturers and defense companies. So a war made investors realize the real world, and the theory of that military investments only makes more war. It felt military investments is always necessary to prevent violence. In conflict situations, you need powers to rely on. In addition to economic power, one of the powers widely used to persuade the practice of nonviolence is military power. It was not used against Putin's nuclear threats. That's why he felt free to invade Ukraine. So we can see that now the defense sector got more valuable again. And another issue that I think most people know that happened in Europe. Actually, everything happened in Europe. It was their energy situation, their gas. With the Ukraine invasion, they were against Putin. They put restrictions, economic restrictions for the Russia, and Putin cut their gas. And then it exposed to the world that Europe was not energy safe. It was not well prepared with more in energy options. They were the pioneer in renewable energy, but like I said, the practice is important. So the theory is good. If you have more options of energy, like this renewable energy, new technology, solar panel, you raise your energy security. But the practice was not well done. They cut their other energy sources. We saw that the Russian gas was very important for European energy demand. And they had to go back and activate other sources that are not renewable because Europe got in a crisis, energy crisis. And we can see this energy crisis, some news about it. So we can see in Al Jazeera that they are worried, they are asking how bad could Europe's energy crisis get this winter? Because it was going to be winter in Europe when the energy crisis started, when Putin cut the gas. And in winter, we know that populations need more energy to warm their homes. In Europe, it snows, it's very cold. Another news, relevant news, is the UN news. They are worried also. Energy crisis poses threat to Europeans' industrial sector. So industry needs a lot of energy, and they are seeing that it could threaten their industry. So these are some of the news that are proving this energy crisis in Europe. I'm saying this because these news are there, written, if you search for them, but it was not really in the mainstream of other countries. So that's why many people doesn't know about all these happenings. So we can see that in the energy sector, that's very important. The ESG policies, they did not bring good results for the Europeans. They were the pioneers on the renewable energy. So the theory was good, but the practice, no. The practice was not good. And our last issue is what's happening now, and we hope that it's not going to end up like the energy sector. It's the agriculture sector, and it's also not appearing in the mainstream. Farmers are on strike in Europe several months now. So you can see a lot of tractors in cities, and it occurred in 12 countries or more. It started in the Netherlands, Europe. So the policies were kind of the same in European countries, and the farmers, they felt the same results. So they were angry because they were receiving less subsidies. They raised the tax in the fuel, the fossil fuel, and like force farmers to transit to renewable energy. And they felt this in the financial aspect. So that's another complaint. Let's see. Let's leave you with other images, because the strikes were huge, and they were massive. And countries made strikes together. They shared forces. So it was very impressive. It's unprecedented, at least in my generation. So we can see like France, Italy, Spain, Romania, Poland, Greece, Germany, Portugal, Netherlands. And they are very angry with these ESG policies, especially the climate change. They're accusing the farmers to be responsible of the green gas emission. There were farmers that were losing their lands imposed by government. Their lands were of many generations of the family, and they were losing with this kind of argument, the climate change argument. That's why they got really angry, and we hope that a food crisis does not happen like the energy crisis that happened in Europe. And they also were angry that the governments, the countries, they were buying food from other countries, Latin America countries, and not from them. And their own products were not competitive. There is need of a balance in the interests, in the impacts in people's lives. So that's why this demanding, imposing way of practicing ESG did not work. Answering to our question of this video, if the one who goes woke really goes broke, it probably is true. because they are not balancing the impacts, and they are causing these massive negative impacts. And it all happened before in Europe because they are the ones who are creating ESG policies before any other country. So the results are happening before there, and we can see that they are not good. And that's why investors are demanding a change in the direction of their investments. We hope all these happenings can mature the ESG work and demands and mature the discussion on ESG issues. Sometimes we think our ideas are going to cause great impacts, but like what we saw, sometimes it doesn't, and we need to understand why in the execution. In our next video, we're going to talk about the largest problem in the world according to UN, the Sustainable Development Goal number 1, to eradicate poverty. It's been 50 years of campaigns and work and donations, and people are still poor and suffering. So what's going on? What's happening? What we are missing? Is our donation really helping? That's what you're going to find out in our next video. I'm going to put around here. Subscribe to our newsletter in the description. Social media not always notify everyone in the community, and we'll see you in our next video. Green Business Post: Responsible Impacts for Sustainable Communities.